From the historical sources, it is understood that the Khas are the nomadic community with a history of thousands of years. Examining the antiquity of the Khas community, one must go back to the nearly 3,800 years old history of the Khas rulers and the tribes of Iran and Babylonia in Middle East Asia. The Caucasian Empire of ancient Babylonia is also of great importance in the evolution of nations. Khas or Caucasian is the ancient names of the Khas race. Historical facts are found about Khas, who ruled Babylonia from 1700 to 1155 BC. Although the Khas are Aryans, they are not Vedic Aryans. They entered Indian continent in the 1st century BC and began to enter western Nepal around the 5th century AD. In the 1st century BC, Khas invaded West Asia through Babylonia, and in the 5th century AD, it invaded western Nepal from Kashmir via Kumaon, Garhwal and Kashmir. The Aryan Khas, Brahmins, Kshatri, Thakuri, Sannyasi, Arya, Dalits are the communities that came to Nepal only in the 12th century. Kumaon, Garhwal and especially the hilly parts of Nepal, the foothills are the motherland or habitat of the Khas community. Before the arrival of Khas, western Nepal was divided into many parts. The present Seti Mahakali zone was under the rule of Kumaon. Magrat was ruled by Magar chief. In the northern part of Gandaki, there were tribal kingdoms of Gurung community. The entry of Khas in Kumaon, Garhwal and Jumla in the western part of Nepal towards the central and eastern hilly Nepal extended the Khas language, the Khas civilization and the Khas empire throughout Nepal. The Khas, Bahun, Thakuri, Kshetri and Sudras made Sinja the capital of Jumla and made the state of Jumla and Kumaon, and the Khas who invaded central and east through western Nepal are still known as Kumai Khas. For example, like Prasai, Sitaula, Oli, Kathiat, Kumai. Whereas Rizal, Bandari, Pandit, Thapa, Kharka, etc. are from Jumla. The arrival of the Khas seems to have established the Khas language and Khas culture along with the capture of the small tribal states in Nepal. Based on historical facts, resettlements from Central Asia seem to have been settled by the Khas who crossed the Mahakali River through the southeastern Himalaya and established a kingdom on the banks of the Karnali River. The history of the Khas Empire in the Karnali region is of utmost importance in distinguishing the true identity of the Khas caste. The Khas origins in western Iran, the Caucasian mountain, the Caspian Sea, the Khas background of Afghanistan, the Khas River at the entrance to Balik, the Hindu Kush mountain, the Kasagar, the Kashmir, the Khas Mandala of Kumaon Garhwal, and are based on that the historical sites of Nepali Khas is Karnali region. In the middle period of Nepal history, there was a famous kingdom called Sinja. This state belonged to the present-day Karnali province of Nepal. As its capital is in the Sinja valley of present-day Jumla district, this kingdom was known as Sinja Kingdom. The kingdom was established in the early 12th century. King Nagraj, the founder of the Sinja Kingdom, was the king of Khari, province of Tibet. He went to Khasan region of the south during the expansion of his own kingdom. There is a consensus that Nagraj was deposed and shifted the capital to South Sinja by taking over the state from Tibet. There is another opinion that Nagraj is of Tibetan origin and not of Khas community. In addition to the Jumla and Doti areas, the western province of Bote also included Gans within his kingdom. As the kings of Sinja are of Khas dynasty, they are also known as Khas kings, and their kingdom is also known as Khas Kingdom. Nagraj's successor expanded the Khas empire. It is estimated that during the expansion of the empire, there were encounters with Cholas, and after the conquest, they adopted the Cholas surname. After Nagraj in Sinja, Chap, Chapilla, Krasichalla, and Kradichalla became kings. Krachalla is the son of Kradichala. Krachalla was born in the 6th generation of Nagraj. Krachalla was enthroned in 1264 BS. According to the Kumaon Baleshwar temple records of 1280, it is known that this Krachalla conquered Kumaon and Garhwal and worshipped and donated to Baleshwar Mahadev. Since Krachalla is referred to as Param Saugat, great worshipper of the Buddha, in the same inscription, it is understood that he had the same faith in the Buddhist and Saivism. The place where the archive were prepared is a town near Dulu. It is understood that a settlement was developed in Dulu at that time. Krachalla was proficient in both arms and scripture. Krachalla was a very powerful and diplomatic king of Sinja. Asokchalla is the son of Krachalla. Asokchalla was a just, religious and majestic king. The Kankre Bihar of Surkhet was built by Asokchalla. Pillars and inscriptions of Asokchalla have been found in Garhwal and Bodh Gaya. Asokchalla is also said to be the king of the Khas country, spread over 125,000 cells. Calling Asokchalla the bravest of the ruler of the Khas Kingdom of Karnali, his reign is considered to be the climax of Challas. Asokchalla's two sons, Jitari Malla and Ananda Malla, also became kings. Jitari Malla was as vigilant as his father Asokchalla. Like his ancestor, King Jitari Malla did not hesitate to organize a strong military. Jitari Malla succeeded in expanding the area beyond his ancestors. In particular, Jitari Malla conquered from Jumla to Kathmandu and turned the Khas Kingdom into a huge empire. Jitari Malla had conquered some parts of the Charvanjang Valley of Nepal Mandala not only one but 3 times. King Jitari Malla first attacked Nepal Mandala in 1344 BS. In that attack, in the month of Pus, a fierce battle took place near Swayambhunath. King Ananta Malla of Nepal Mandala had a lot of problems. 800 Khas soldiers were killed in that battle. Some of the forts of Nepal Mandal, like Nuakot and Farping, were demolished by the Khas army. But the central power of the Nepal Mandal, Bhaktapur, remained safe. King Jitari Malla's army attacked Nepal Mandal for the second time in February 1345 BS. The Khas army's attack was more terrible than before. The Khas army entered the village and set it on fire. King Jitari Malla of Jumla returned after worshipping Swayambhunath and Lokeshwar or Rato Machindranath and Pasupatinath. There is no clear information about why King Jitari Malla changed his surname to Malla for the first time while his parents were writing Challa. Some scholars have speculated that he may have taken to the caste of Malla to show that they are also the upper class Malla Kshetri according to the customs of the neighboring country. The details of his attack are given by Gopal Rajvangsavali, later 40. Jitari Malla is the Khas king who bears the title Malla after his Nepal. The people of the Kathmandu Valley were terrified by Jitari Malla's repeated attack on the Kathmandu Valley. Ananta Malla was ruling in the Kathmandu Valley at that time. Frightened by Jitari Malla's invasion, Ananta Malla had made an agreement with Jitari Malla. Some parts of the valley were subdued for some time. From the same act, King Jitari Malla was called Malla from Challa. Ripu Malla is the son of Jitari Malla's brother Ananda Malla. Ripu Malla is not the successor of Sinja kingdom. He came to power by force and became the king of Sinja. At the same time, Ripu Malla removed his elder brother Akshay Malla and became king. Akshay Malla is the son of Jitari Malla. Ripu Malla had traveled to Kathmandu and Lumbini. Ripu Malla and his son Sangram Malla are mentioned in the Asok pillar of Lumbini. Ripu Malla and his son Sangram Malla's face is depicted in the Thangka, which has a Tibetan style of face, dress and hairstyle. Aditya Malla was the youngest son of King Jitari Malla. Aditya Malla, who fled to Tibet for safety, lived as a monk there. Aditya Malla lived as a monk in the Sakya monastery in Tibet during his childhood. At the same time, it is understood that his brother Akshay Malla was removed from the power. Aditya Malla did not know that for 2 years. After the death of King Jitari Malla, when the throne of Sinja Jumla was vacant, Ripu Malla became the king, as there was a custom during those times that the throne should not be left vacant. When Aditya Malla found out that his father and his brother had also died, he returned to Jumla after completing his education at the Sakya monastery in western Tibet. Aditya Malla returned to Nepal from Tibet in 1370 BS. At that time, there were ups and downs in the Khas Kingdom due to intrigue and conspiracy. King Aditya Malla had attacked the Kathmandu Valley twice. The first invasion of King Aditya Malla took place in 1378 BS. The Khas army of Jumla had attacked and defeated the Kathmandu Valley at Bhaktapur. Many people died in the war and the valley was badly damaged. In the second attack, King Aditya Malla himself led an army and attacked Kathmandu. In the invasion of 1385 BS, they first captured Nuwakot, then occupied Farping and set fire to many villages. Aditya Malla broke through the fort of Lalitpur and entered Kathmandu. Aditya Malla's kingdom stretched east to the river Arun. After the death of Aditya Malla, his son-in-law Punya Malla became the king of Khas Kingdom. King Aditya Malla had a daughter named Sakun Malla. Daughter Sakun Malla was married to Punya Pal of Jumla. Due to this, Punya Pal got to sit on the throne of Sinja. Punya Pal of the Khas dynasty of Purang Tibet was called as there was no heir in Nagraj dynasty. After ascending the throne, Punya Pal renounced his Pal surname and became Malla. Therefore, after entering the Malla dynasty of Karnali, Pal started calling themselves Mallas. It is clear that Punya Malla represented the dynasty of Nagraj and the dynasty of Pals. According to the custom of housebringing, all the Khas emperors except Punya Malla, who were inducted into the clan with the in-laws' surname, were confirmed to be the same blood dynasty. The inscription in the Kirat Kamba, the Tibetan genealogy and the Sherpali genealogy show that there is no difference between Challa and Malla. This is also mentioned by Punya Malla in his records. After Punya Malla, his son Prithvi Malla became the king of Khas Kingdom. Prithvi Malla is considered to be the almighty king among the Khas Mallas. Prithvi Malla was a very influential and a far-sighted king. Prithvi Malla had made special contribution for the expansion and administrative reform of the kingdom. The source of information about the history of Khas Kingdom is in the monument of Dullu, and it was established by Prithvi Malla. After Prithvi Malla, Ave Malla became the king. But then the kingdom of a big Karnali seems to be heading towards collapse. Later, Karnali was divided into several states. During the reign of Ave Malla, there was a power struggle between the rulers. As a result of such conspiracy and struggles, Malay Varma seized power after the reign of Ave Malla. Malay Varma was one of the powerful courtiers from the Khas kingdom. The Khas Empire, which began to degenerate towards the end of Prithvi Malla, disappeared after the reign of Malay Varma, and that was around 1435 to 46 BS. Thus, from Nagraj to Prithvi Malla, Khas Kingdom ruled Karnali in the history of Nepal for about 300 years and had gained an important place. The practice of decentralization in Nepal can be traced back to the Khas Kingdom. At that time, the kingdom had spread far and wide. Since it was not possible to rule directly from the center, the Khas Kingdom practiced decentralization. The final decision of the kingdom was made by the king, and the king was the head of all. After the death of the king, the inheritance of the kingdom was established so that his eldest son could become the king. Princes were given various responsibilities to assist in the administration. Such responsible posts were Senapati, Madalneshwar, Amatya, etc. If the king did not have a son, the responsibility of the kingdom would go to son-in-law. Maha-Amatya, Amatya, Bhandari, Rajguru, etc. were political positions. In order to run the administration effectively, posts like spy, observer, adai, mahatara, etc. were created. Caste society was not based on caste system. What people did was not based on race. The castes had their own language, which was called caste language, and now it has become Nepali language. The caste kings used to come to Kathmandu to visit Pasupatinath, Swayambhunath and Machindranath and also practice according to Buddhist tradition. Festivals related to Hindu and Buddhist rites were celebrated in Khas Kingdom. Kul Puja, Dasai, Tihar, Buddha Jayanti, Ekadasi, Chaitya Dasai, New Year, Vaisak Purnima, etc. were important festivals celebrated in Sinja. Agriculture, animal husbandry, industry, trade, etc. were the economic activities of the people of Khas Kingdom. During this time, the economic condition was very well developed. The Khas Kingdom traded with India and Tibet. The surnames of the Khas community originated from the official status and also Khas Empire villages of Karnali province. Surnames derived from governmental status are as follows. Adhikari, rate officer. Karki, revenue officer. Katayat, Kazi status. Batta, royal priest. Bhandari, head of state treasury. Lekhak, author. Mahat, village head. Rokaya, Mahat's ally. Thapa, the highest rank in the army. Kharka, soldier status. Rana, soldier status. Buddha, soldier status. Basnet, soldier rank. Surnames derived from the names of the villages in Karnali province. From Jumla, Dhita, Dhital. Pandusera, Pande. Sinja, Sizapati. Chandila Gaon, Chaulagai. Pyakuri, Pyakurel. Simkhada, Simkhada. From Acham, Timilsen, Timilsena, Timilsina. Ghamirao, Gimire. Devkot, Devkota. Dungrani, Dungana. Danku, Dakal. Basgaon, Basgai. Rima, Rimal. Raisali. Swarna, Swar. Godasai, Godasaini. Purasain, Purasaini. Dhamali, Dhamala. Darna, Darnal. Kuinka, Kuinkel. Chalsa, Chalise. Barla, Baral. Lamisal or Lamsal. From Bajang, Regam, Regmi. Sot, Soti. Khar, Karel, Karal. Suvada, Subeda, Subedi. Bayana, Bania. Paudi, Paudel. From Bazura, Jamakati, Jamakatel. Ches, Chatial. Kundi, Kundial. Belkate, Kelkateya. Khatiwada, Khati. From Baitari, Gazari, Gazurel. From Doti, Dotekela, Dotel. Dipayala, Katiyat. Nirauli, Niraula. Ozana, Oza. From Mugu, Kanaya, Kanal. Kalaigaon, Kalyan. Katiyat, Katiwada. From Dailek, Lamachani, Lamichane. Banskot, Baskota, Banstoli. Bastola, Satla, Satyal. Luati, Luitel. Chapagaon, Chapagai. Nepa, Nepal. Riju, Rijal. Pokhar, Pokhrel. Lamsu, Lamsal. Lamji, Lamjal. Daha, Dahal. Dullu, Durlung, Dulal. Gaihara, Gaire. Gare. Burti, Burtel. Parazul, Parazuli. Koirali, Koirala. Devada, Davadi. Kattel, Kattel. Busakot, Busal. Sui, Suyel. Wad, Badal. Modasai, Marasani, Mariseni. Guragaon, Guragaon. From Calicut, Kitikasai, Kersine. Butao, Burtel. Ranchu, Ruchal. Gela, Gelal. Vanjara, Banjade. Bajikot, Banskota. From Rukum, Sarpukot, Sapkota. Gotamkot, Gautam, Gotami. From Dang, Razaura, Razauria. Now, Nepali, or the language which is called the national language, is actually a developed form of Khas language. Thank you.